And now it's time for another edition of the 12th Man Fan Jam. With your host, the Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, thank you, Magic Voice of the 12th Man Fan Jam, and welcome one and all for a very special off-season April Showers edition of the 12th Man Fan Jam. I am your host for this program, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity, and I would like to thank you so much for making us part of your Seahawk pregame fix as we discuss the off-season for your Super Bowl 48 champion, Seattle Seahawks. So sit back, grab a desired beverage or sin of your choice, and remember, April showers bring May flowers bring pilgrims, and pilgrims bring disease and take your land. We have a lot to discuss on the program for you, as always, and as always, I am never alone. No, the 12th Man Fan Jam posse is here from literally around the world to light your way along the festivities with a virtual Easter egg hunt of fun and information. First in the posse this evening is my partner in crime, the yin to my yang. He is painting Easter eggs even as we speak from merry old England. You know him as Suffolk Blue on SeahawkBlue.com, and we know him as Matt.
Hello, good morning, Moses. How are you?
Wonderful. How are you this morning?
I'm just not too bad over here. Not too bad at the moment. I am very excited tonight. Very excited.
Are your Easter eggs all colored and hidden?
Fertilized. Oh yeah, they're all hidden around the house for me to go and find and eat later.
Your eggs are fertilized.
Always.
Okay.
Very, very excited. Very excited for the next guest you're about to announce.
Okay, well, good. Well, I'll get right to it. The other member of our posse this evening is a very special guest. He is eyewitness to Seahawk home games, can be found on Norbcam on YouTube channel, as well as some catchy Seahawk tunes and a lot of other things. By the way, also a writer and director of a major motion picture named Frayed. He is Norb.
What's up, man? How's all you guys doing? Glad to be on the show today.
Hey, man, we're doing great. Thanks so much for coming on our show and hanging out with us tonight.
Hey, my pleasure, man. Wouldn't want to be doing anything else on a Friday night but talking Seahawks football, right?
Exactly. What better way to pass some of this time between now and all the way to August?
Oh, it's such a long way away.
Oh, my God, I don't even want to think about it. But, you know, that's what we do this show. We're going to waste an hour talking about the Seahawks. That's one less hour we got to wait for the start of the next season. And I know everyone wants to get this April shower show started, so let's run over real quick what the format of this show is. The 12th Man Fan Jam show is divided into 4 quarters, just like a real NFL football game. In the first quarter, we usually have news, and we will have some news stories of some NFL news and some other news that I found that we can kind of comment about. Quarter 2 always talks about the game from the week before, but of course we're in the off season, so what we're going to do in quarter 2 is talk about where this wonderful Seahawk Super Bowl season stands significantly in history, in NFL history, not just Seahawk history, but NFL history. At halftime, of course, we'll have a live interview with our guest Norb and Norbcam, and the third and fourth quarter, we're going to compare and contrast the 13-3 2013 Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks with the 2005 13-3 Super Bowl runner-up Seattle Seahawks. In the third quarter, we're going to play a thing I like to call There Can Be Only One. And we're going to look at the offensive players of both those teams and put together a super Seahawk team. In the fourth quarter, we're going to play There Can Be Only One for defense and special teams as well, and come with this big, super fantastic Seahawk team. I remind you also, you can send us emails. Let us know what you think of the show. You know, say hi, you like it, you hate us, whatever. We're not too proud to beg. That's our email up here on the screen. So please, just stop and just put hi and send it. Let's see who's listening to the show, really. Okay, enough of that. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get started with news. Yes, news to take you around the world of the NFL and sports, and even not sports. This is the off-season news report starring me, Moses. All right. Before we start the news, there is a special announcement. I have to get a little personal here. Our voice, who gets us from quarter to quarter, is my daughter, Mosette. And this evening, Mosette was inducted in the National Junior Honor Society. So she is kind of a member of the show. So I want to send a little shout out to her. Norb, I don't know if you've ever been to one of these things, but it was like the most painful 2 hours of my life. It was, well, they would announce the kids, and then they'd say all the great things that the kids in the year above her have done, and then they announce one of the kids that's coming into the honor society. And that was fine, but there was like, I bet there was at least 150 kids, but let's not go there. After like the first 20, they stopped and they sang a song. And then they brought up group 2. And they did it, and they stopped. And this kid did a thing on the xylophones. I don't know who plays the xylophones anymore. Anyway, then, so, I mean, it was just like every 20 they stopped, and this thing kept going on and on and on. But congratulations to Mosette. Well deserved, and I'm very proud of her.
Good girl.
Yeah, good girl.
Well done to her.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, some local news here. Did any of you ever watch wrestling, professional wrestling?
Oh, what in the like 90s and 80s and that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, is this about the Ultimate Champion?
It is about the Ultimate Warrior. Norb, did you ever watch wrestling at all?
Yeah, you're getting into one of those things. I never got into it really, to be honest with you. So
No, me
unfortunately, it doesn't ring home for me. So yeah, even now MMA and all that stuff. I mean, it's great. I know it's got a big following, but
A lot of it.
I knew the whole thing was all fake and everything. So I can never get my head around like, why should I follow this? Because it's all a big act. So
agree.
Exactly.
I never got into it. So I could, I love watching boxing back in the day, and all that stuff, and even the 70s. There was. Love watching that with my folks, but yeah, couldn't get into the wrestling thing.
No, I couldn't either. My dad loved wrestling, but let me explain it. My dad thought it was the funniest show on TV. He would watch it and just laugh. He thought it was the stupidest thing on TV, and he loved wrestling because it was so ridiculous and fake and all that. But yeah, well, here's what I learned about the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior died this week, but the reason I'm bringing him up, and it's just for 10 seconds, is because I didn't know this. He grew up in Indiana.
Oh.
Yeah.
In the White Lands?
In the White Lands, yes. And he graduated. Not only that, there's more. I have a connection with the Ultimate Warrior. He graduated from Indiana State University. That's my university.
Wow.
We have the
What
Ultimate
happened to you then? So,
Yeah, I know.
What are you then? The Ultimate what?
We have the Ultimate Procrastinator. I have the Ultimate Warrior and Larry Bird. That's our claim to fame. That's that's my brush with greatness right there. You can't get better than that, can you? Probably can.
Did you meet him?
No.
Did he know you existed?
No, probably not.
Right, next news story.
Next news story. Moving on. Let's go to the NFL. The Pro Bowl is going to be in Arizona this year, if you did not notice that. Norb, did you watch the Pro Bowl at all this year?
Oh, I absolutely did not watch
me
the
either.
Pro Bowl.
I didn't either. I didn't either.
I mean, why the Seahawks were in, we were playing in the Super Bowl, so it's kind of hard to even feel like there was a reason to watch that game. So yeah, I watched a little bit. I was curious about the whole draft process that they did for the first time. So that was entertaining for about 5 minutes, and I was like, okay, I've seen enough of this. It's just hard.
Totally with you.
They keep trying to make that game relevant, but it's just a big vacation thing for those guys. And now they get, instead of getting to look forward to a trip to Hawaii, they get to have a trip to Arizona. So that'll be interesting to see how motivated the Pro Bowlers are to make the trip now, because it's not quite the same thing.
I'm going to Arizona.
Moses, this is one of those games though that I think could be in London, because it would.
Yes.
That's a far better thing than keep putting bloody regular games in the middle of London. Bring over the Pro Bowl. Bring over a completely pointless game and shove that in the middle of London.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And then the London fans can get to see a whole bunch of different players instead of seeing just one
the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I agree.
They send over there.
That is a great idea.
Roger and petition him on that. That's
yeah, he won't do that though because there's not enough money in it. Goodell's only interested in the dollars. He's just chasing dollars. That's all he's doing.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Well, but
if you find a way to make money, then maybe you got something there.
Very true. But to me, and we're going to talk the second half. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to bring up the 2005 Seahawks that went, the Super Bowl XL. But for me, back when that was the Pro Bowl, after the Super Bowl, which I still can't watch, and we were all devastated for obvious reasons. That week after the Super Bowl, watching 6 Seahawks walk out together at the Pro Bowl, and I kind of thought, okay, it was a good year. It kind of grounded me a little bit after that terrible Super Bowl. But now this whole drafting thing, man, it's just, it's pathetic. Arizona can have it. They're going to have enough players on there. They don't need ours anyway.
I still didn't watch it after the 2005. I just don't watch the Pro Bowl. It is the single most. Nobody wants to get injured. Nobody wants to play. It's like not that I want to see people get injured. Don't get me wrong, but at least you want to see someone do a tackle without just sort of. It's like playing flag football. It's just dull.
It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is.
That's, what they should do. They should just make it flag football, and no one has the helmets on. You can see their faces, and they might actually play harder if it's just flag football instead of. The attempt to try to make this game that, like you said, no one wants to get hurt, and it makes sense that no one wants to get hurt.
Of course.
And so how can you get full effort when you know that no one's want to lay themselves out for a pointless game? So
exactly.
Yeah. Flag football in London. That's a start right there.
There you go. Flag football in London. That would be awesome.
Beers on me.
Hey, speaking of flag football, a team that kind of played like flag football last time they played, the Denver Broncos have agreed to a 3-year extension with head coach John Fox. Congratulations, John Fox.
Yes, well done him.
Yeah, the kids.
I'd have sacked him.
Hey, the kids dig that.
So hard.
Yeah, the kids dig the 3-year deal for John Fox. Congratulations to John Fox. Norb, have you watched the sound effects? I'm sure you have. The Super Bowl sound effects.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I watched that, and I don't hate the Broncos. I didn't hate them before we played them, and it's a real human study in the captain of the Titanic, isn't it? Because that whole time he's saying, "Hang in there, guys. Keep punching away. Hang in there." He's trying to steer this ship that is obviously going deeper and deeper and deeper into the water, and he's just trying. He's like that Kevin Bacon guy in Animal House, where all is well and he gets pushed over and ran over, but he's trying. Bless his heart, that guy's doing his best, And I felt sorry for him because if we were in that position, we'd be thinking, "Thanks, John, for at least trying."
But Moses, he ain't worth another 3 years.
You don't think so?
No, I'd have sacked him on the spot. I thought that was the worst game. If I was that owner, I swear to God, that man would have been out of that stadium, out of New York, and would never set foot in Denver again.
Really?
Just get the hell out. Oh God, what an awful game to do. If you've had the season that he's had the best offensive season. La 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 la. If all of that boils down to one game, Moses, all of that hype, all of that crap, all of that boils down to one game. One game where you have got to be absolutely on the money. And from the minute he walked out in the crowd and said, "Oh, they didn't seem that loud," suddenly they seemed a bit louder. It was as if he had a microphone attached to his mouth, and everything he said, like, "Oh, Percy Hubbard's not going to run this back." Oh, Percy Hubbard's just run that back. It was. Personally, I'd have shot him with a gun and just dragged him out. So don't speak anymore. Don't do anything. Don't make any calls. It's not what everything you do the direct opposite. That's what they should have done. No, I'd have got rid of him. New blood.
So what do you really think?
He's all right. I mean, I'd have given him another couple of years,
Norb, how do you feel? Are you in the John Fox hating club?
Oh no, I love the fact that they want to keep him for 3 more years. Are you kidding me? let's play him again in the next 3 Super Bowls. But in all reality, I think they've had the last couple of years has been really good. I mean, you can't, but they've just failed when they finally got to the finish line. They failed last year. They should, they blew it. They should have been in the Super Bowl last year when they failed to close the game out. And then this season, I mean, they just, like you said, they just walked in there looking like they were just not prepared. I think
sure did.
They just, I really think they were a victim of their own schedule because, Seattle had such a gauntlet to get through, to get to the game. So they were, so sharpened by all the by all the tough teams they had to play and how hard they had to fight, where Denver sort of just waltzed in and could just buy into all the, we're the greatest offense, nobody can stop us, yada, yada, yada. So I just think they bought into that a little bit too much and got overconfident, and they didn't really take us that seriously. So I really do think that they weren't that prepared.
Yeah.
So, I think he does take some responsibility for that game, but you're not going to fire him for it because they got him to the postseason twice, But
no, you can getting to the postseason's all well and good, but you mentioned the game that they should have won it last year and they didn't. They should have won it this year, they didn't. At the end of the day, owners are not interested in should it be maybe teams. They're interested in winners, and you've got to win.
Woo!
Well, that's true. But I guess the question is, who else is out there that they feel gives them a better chance,
right?
And and then secondly, is it simply you got to give them one more try to get it right? Like I said, 3 years. I don't know if I would have extended in 3 years, but those guys seem to have a good little bond. Him and Elway and the whole Denver situation out there. They seem happy with each other. So I don't know now after that game, but like I said, I'm as a Seahawks fan.
Oh yeah,
I applaud the move.
I mean, if they're happy to keep walking out of stadiums without trophies, I'm happy to keep paying Mr. Fox. That's fine.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And the Cincinnati Reds are my favorite baseball team, and I was watching a special on them this year, and I saw Brandon Phillips, the second baseman, say something that struck true for this. I thought of the Seattle Seahawks immediately, and he said, he's a great defensive second baseman. He said, look, defense wins championships. Offense sells tickets. I thought, dude, that's it right there. That's that's NFL. Defense wins championships. Offense sells tickets. He's got it.
And that's why Goodell has changed so many rules to make offense the much easier to play than defense.
Exactly.
It's all about the money.
Which makes, I know we'll get to this point. I know you're going to want to get to this point later, which makes the Seattle's accomplishment that much more.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
In this day and age of what the game is compared to what it was in the 70s or the 80s and the 90s when the defense didn't have the shackles that they do now. It's even more amazing that they could shut a team down like Denver. So,
yes. And we'll definitely,
so,
that's second quarter material. You're right. That's a nice segue. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about in the second quarter is just how special that was. Because that was, I don't think a lot of people really have a good grip on how special that was. But it was pretty amazing. And finally, I don't think we can go through a news section without talking about what did or didn't happen down in Miami a few days back, I guess. And I'm going to just read what I got here. The Miami Police Report states that investigation surrounds a quote-unquote suspicious incident involving 49er quarterback Colin Kaepernick, as well as 49er receiver Quentin Patton and Seahawks receiver Ricardo Lockett. This first came flying out of the news media as sexual assault, possible sexual assault against Kaepernick. And then the report came out, and I don't know if you guys have read it.
Yep.
But basically, I'm sitting there reading this going, and nothing. And I'm going, I would love to bash Kaepernick about this whole craziness. Let me go ahead and read what we got here. This is the police report, pretty much. Woman states the group talked for a while. That's her and the three guys. And she mixed some drinks for all of them and gave them shots. The woman states they told her to drink the shots. She had to hit the bong, which contained marijuana. She then started to feel lightheaded, went into the bedroom, lay down. She took off her jacket and jewelry. Mr. Kaepernick came behind her, started kissing her. Mr. Kaepernick started to undress her. She got naked and nothing. They didn't have sex. At that point...
Was he intercepted?
No, you know what I think he did? I think he fumbled it is what I think. I think that was a fumbling. But then, so he leaves, I guess. He left the bedroom. They did not have sex. At that point, Patton and Lockett peek into the room. She yells, "What are you doing? Get out of here." And they close the door and leave.
Wow.
So I'm going, where is this, sexual assault I'm supposed to hear about? But I guess there's more coming out This is the latest. I don't know, guys. I would love to bash Kaepernick, but I'm thinking this is ridiculous that they even brought up sex. I mean, yeah, thank you.
A non-story. The thing is that at the end of the day, everything you've just said. The only thing that's illegal, I don't know if it is legal in Florida, but I'm assuming it is. The only thing that's legal in there, I assume, is the marijuana. Is it not?
Yeah, and it would be illegal in Florida, I would think.
So at that point, that's out of everything you've said. That's the only thing I could think of that's illegal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Norb, what was your view on this whole thing? I thought it was a non-story.
Well, where the story stopped, where you stopped it at after they peeked in there, is where it becomes interesting, because then she wakes up in a hospital room and doesn't know how she got there.
Right.
So now there's a big gap of how many hours of. That's the big $1 million question: is what happened between the time that she supposedly passed out and she ended up at the hospital. That's what we all want to imagine what did or didn't happen there. But there's no charges have been pressed. No arrests have been made. So really, there's no one in trouble yet. But basically, it's just under investigation. So until they find out exactly who had what in their system, or who had what inside them, or whatever, that's the stuff that's got to come out first to really figure out what kind of story they have there. But it was broken by it. Didn't TMZ break this? So it's no surprise that a sleazy angle on this came out screaming first. So you have to kind of question the source already. So.
And everybody went scrambling back.
Too late to put it away.
Yeah, and everybody went scrambling back and changed it to from sexual assault in the headlines to what's mysterious incident or something.
But isn't this one where she has had relationships with Kaepernick in the past?
And that's another thing. Yeah, she's had a relationship with him in the past. This isn't somebody that hasn't had a sexual relationship with Kaepernick. So he's maybe almost, but didn't have sex with a girl he's had sex with before. I'm really missing the whole excitement about this.
Well, the excitement is, for me, is just how dumb can 3 NFL players be, really? If you're gonna put yourself in a position where ideally you could be compromised, you could be blackmailed. I don't know what the hell she's gonna say or what she's gonna do. Obviously, Kaepernick already knew her, but you've paid millions of dollars to play a game to live the dream. So why do these players do such stupid things? That's the thing that I can't go over sometimes.
Yeah,
and that goes for our own players. That goes for like Marshawn Lynch doing drink driving, or
Well, Lockett was involved.
And Lockett was involved, and Brandon Brown are taking pot and Christ knows what else. But you're living the dream, live the dream, and for Christ's sake, just obey the bloody rules.
I agree. So there's not a whole lot to talk about that. One last story, and then we'll end the quarter here. And this is not really a football story, but I found this interesting because it's in the state of Washington. Norb, you can kind of be I don't know. Do you know where Woodinville, Washington would be by chance off the top of your head?
Yes, absolutely know where Woodinville, Washington is.
How close is that to Seattle?
It's about maybe 25 miles east of Seattle. You got to cross Lake Washington, go a little bit further east, and then you're in the area.
I'm sure there are
depending on the traffic.
I'm sure it's beautiful, and I'm sure there's some great things to see up there. Norb, have you ever visited the Brightwater Wastewater Treatment Center up there?
Oh, every weekend I go up there. It's a beautiful site.
Because guess
I've
what?
never even heard of that. No,
well, you're going to now. Because a sewage treatment plant near Seattle, the Brightwater Wastewater Treatment Center, says on Facebook that it has a full catering kitchen, audio video equipment, a dance floor, ample parking, and yes, you can hold a wedding at a sewage treatment plant near Seattle.
I saw that story. I saw that ridiculous story. If the Sheraton downtown's booked up, well, there you got another option. So
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
See, I personally think it's great because if you're getting married, it cuts out the middleman. Because if you're gonna get married and you're gonna get in the crap, you might as well get in the crap right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning. Absolutely.
They ought to just jump in head first, right out. I do. Jump in, guys. There you go. Right in the sewage waste plant.
Well, it's already a good sign that if you can convince your bride to have it there and she goes for it, that means she's already showing some pretty good flexibility.
She does, yeah, really.
To agree to that.
Oh, honey, I always want to get married.
Be a keeper.
Yeah, honey, I always want to get married at the sewer plant. God,
if you really loved me, you'd agree to it.
Yeah,
It would
really.
be probably the first marriage in history where the bride is already ignoring the bridegroom before they've even got married.
Yeah,
So
really.
they're walking. Don't look at me. Don't even talk to me. Look at a hand.
Oh.
Look at a hand.
But I would have a real problem if I went to the reception and had chocolate cake. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, don't touch the chocolate cake at the reception. That would be bad. Wow. Poop jokes in the first quarter. How about that?
It's the end of the first quarter, bitches.
And we are at the end of the first quarter. Poop jokes and all. Oh, I feel like I'm 5 again. We're going to take a quick station identification, take a quick break, and we're going to come back in the second quarter. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl winning Seattle Seahawks because, let's face it, that's all we want to do all year anyway. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
We are absolutely sure that this song is going to be in the loudest stadium in the world. Come on, guys. It's got to happen. It's got to happen when he walks on the field.
And now it's time for the second quarter of the 12th Man Fan Jam. Here to take you through the second quarter is once again our host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Thank you, Magic Voice of the 12th Man Fan Jam, and welcome to the second quarter where we're going to kick her in and talk about some interesting things with Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks that won Super Bowl 48. Thank you so much for listening to us and spending some of your postseason, off-season, non-football time of year season with us. Alongside myself is Matt from England and Norb from Norbcam. And Norb also, by the way, if you are a film buff, and I don't know if I call myself a film buff, but I do enjoy watching those films being made and put together, and I enjoy a good movie every once in a while. There's a movie called Frayed. Norb, you want to tell us a little bit about Frayed? You want to brag a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Please.
I didn't know we were going to do this in the
No,
second quarter. But
well, we are, but
talk about
let's tease them. Let's tease them a little bit.
It is the off season. If we're talking about sewage treatment plants in the first quarter, we can talk about Frayed in the second quarter.
Absolutely. Just give them a little taste of what they can expect to talk about at halftime.
All right. Okay. Well, real quick. So, so I'm lucky I get to do film production as my day job. So my bread and butter is making corporate commercial videos and stuff for companies during the daytime. But as anyone who is in the business, we all dream of making movies. So we got a chance to get a taste of that dream a few years ago. We made a psycho thriller, a horror film called Frayed, and I co-wrote it with a couple of childhood friends who we used to make films back in the elementary days, horror films and stuff, dreaming of doing one for real. So we finally, one of my friends just called up and said, "Hey, I know you're making movies, videos and stuff. Let's make a movie, and and we'll figure out how to get the money. But let's just do it. Let's write a script." And so we did, and we were going to get investors and all this stuff, and that just wasn't really working out. So he put up all the money. He put up $250,000 to make of his own money that he didn't have to make this film. And $250,000 is a lot of money for an individual, but it's not a lot of money to make a movie. It's still a pretty low budget amount for what we were trying to do. But anyway, we got it done, and it was basically about 3.5 week shoot that we did in 2005, the year we went to the Super Bowl.
Nice.
And as a result, I didn't go to this. I didn't renew my tickets because we were shooting the movie that entire fall. And so it ties into what we're about to talk about. Our 2005 season. But and our first kid was born, that year, a few months earlier. And so I thought, I'm probably gonna have to cut back on some expenditures. And they went to the Super Bowl and kicked myself for having not kept my tickets, and I quickly got them back. Had to wait for them for a couple of years.
Excellent.
But anyway,
excellent.
this movie, we shot it. We went through did the film festival route, got a premiere down in LA. Eventually, we got a deal done with Lionsgate Home Entertainment, and they released it domestically and worldwide on DVD in 2009.
Wow.
So it was a kind of a piece of the dream come true. But like any person who's ever gone through trying to make a film, it's never quite the dream you thought it was going to be. It's more like a nightmare.
Yeah.
And getting it done is just amazing that it can even get done with all the obstacles we had to go through from trying to get it made to getting distribution, and then all the deals that you have to sign to get it done. But fortunately we did. Unfortunately for my friend, he did not get his money back, so it kind of hurt him. But he's still doing all right and still wants to make another one someday.
Oh,
but
great.
It was cool that we got it out there, and it still plays on. It's out on Netflix and Amazon, and it airs on cable TV and on demand still to this day. So people can still watch it. It's called Frayed, F-R-A-Y-E-D.
Then we'll put a link up, and we'll put a poster up for sure.
Yeah, I'll give you that. And it's we have a page on Facebook where people can comment and things like that. So. But so it's it's an old school horror style movie with a twist. But it's definitely it's got some gory parts to it. What you'd expect to see out of a horror movie, but the twist is kind of a mind bender. So you actually have to kind of pay attention so you catch all the details. But so if you like horror and if you like creepy clown masks, this movie's for you.
Oh, creepy clowns, scary clowns! I love horror films. So. I love horror films, and it was on Sci-Fi. Was it Sci-Fi just the other night or about a week ago?
It was on the. There's a channel on the Dish Network called Chiller.
Chiller. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that channel.
Yes. Yeah. On there like 3 weeks ago or something. Like that. I didn't even know about it. A friend of mine texted, "Hey, your movie's on tonight." I was like, "Oh, it is really cool."
That's awesome.
So anyway, so
that's
it
very
pops
cool.
up every once in a while.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. Well, and see, this is a little bit of a segue of what we're going to talk about, because one thing that's not frayed is the relationship between Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. See how I did that? Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. And it's definitely not frayed because Pete Carroll signed a 3-year extension to stay with this team. Now, when it started. When he first came in, we had just come off the Mora year, which was clearly a very forgettable season. And all of a sudden, they're flying down to L.A. and they're talking to Pete Carroll and they're getting rid of Mora and they're bringing Carroll in. And it kind of, I don't know. I mean, Matt, to me, it took me really off guard that they were even interested in Carroll and that they were just giving Mora one year. How did you feel about when all that happened? Think back.
No. I can remember those. Years very well. Thank you. I wasn't surprised at all. They only gave for a year. I mean, he was next to useless. I mean,
yes.
I've had fire guards made of chocolate that are slightly more useful than him. No, the only thing I wasn't really sure of, the only reason I knew who Pete Carroll was because of his New England days. I didn't really know much about the whole college stuff and there's a bit of controversy that was going on at that time. I had no idea really. It wasn't until after he started where we had some interviews coming back from the NFL and people were saying, Carroll and all the controversy that was going on down at that university. So that was sort of a bit of that's a bit of a gamble for me. Mm-hmm. I didn't really know a lot about him apart from the Patriots, which obviously made me think he must be reasonable. But then I worked out he'd been sacked as well from the Jets and was he just sacked from the Jets and from Patriots? Mm-hmm. Sacked from both. Yeah, see, that's never a good sign, is it? Really? It's not a good resume. It's a thing to put on a resume. But that was the thing I thought of was but we'd had such a crap year with Morat and such, up until the point even when he was blaming kickers for losing games.
Yes.
I was at the point of, well, anyone would do. Give me a little league coach. I don't know. Give me someone from a high school. I don't care. Anyone to replace this idiot that we've got there at the moment, and we did.
Norb, he comes in, this coach from USC, and immediately everything changes. He's so unorthodox. I don't want to use the term rah-rah, but a lot of people use that to describe him. He was enthusiastic. They put a scoreboard up at practice. They had competition Wednesdays. They were playing they had batting practice at the end of one of the practices, a home run hitting contest. How are you feeling when Pete first took over and you saw these drastic, off-the-wall, unorthodox methods?
Well, I think my reaction too was a bit shocking when he first was introduced. And my first gut reaction was, yeah, Moore wasn't too impressive, but I thought, wow, he only got 1 year and he didn't even get a chance to at least see what he could do the next year. But I thought, okay, well, obviously Carroll must have, this opportunity came up. But like everybody else at the time, because of the whole, controversy going on down at USC, my first thought, like a lot of people, was, he's just trying to get out of that whole situation. And he's just finding an easy way out. What a great opportunity to get away from all the negativity and sort of get a fresh, clean start. So I was skeptical, like a lot of people were. But, I think it's one of those things where he does do things his own way. And it was natural, I think, for everybody to criticize it because everybody in general thinks, well, what you do in college won't work in the pros. And so until you prove that it works, everyone's going to assume that it's just not going to, because these are not college boys out of high school. These are pros who are going to laugh at these attempts to do these things. And yet here they are, world champions. And now you have to simply accept the fact that, okay, they obviously know what they're doing over there and have proven they've got a formula that works in the NFL. And so NFL is all based on results, and the results are undeniable. So you have to give them credit and say, okay, they're doing something right over there. And so I'm all in, I mean, once you start seeing the improvement and what they were doing with the moves. So again, everything they did was so questionable. Wow, they had like 300 something transactions. What the heck are they doing over there? Everything was like, what are they? It's a zoo over there. It's a circus.
Right.
And 7-9 season, we win the division. We're laughed like a laughing stock. No one takes us seriously. And so even that first year they went to the postseason was kind of a joke. Nobody really thought the Seahawks were, deserved to be there. So that whole stigma really never got cleared until this year, because we just, last year really, because as far as they got. But, so it took a while to really prove that this was not just a fluky thing, but it's a real thing. But
the thing is,
year after year, it's gotten better.
The sheer number of, the sheer number of roster changes was just immense. I mean, we never had, we didn't have the same front line for like an entire season, didn't we? It was like one in, one out, one in, one out, one in, one out, and it was.
Oh yeah.
It was like, wow, where's the consistency in this team?
Yeah.
So at one point, I was like, this has got to stop at some point. You can't just keep throwing, bringing guys in and then throwing them out, bring them in, throw them out. That for me, I was saying that's no way to build a team. Well, clearly that is exactly how you build a team, because what Pete Carroll does is say, okay, come in, I'm going to try out all your skills. I'm going to see which bits fit you, which bits don't fit you. I'm really sorry you don't fit our package because we don't have any space for you. You're a really good receiver, but actually we've got all our receivers. Off you go. Next one in. And I suppose that's exactly how you do it, is you've got to find the talent to fill the holes you've got, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was one of the last people to jump off the Moore ship, and I jumped off it near the end of the year because it felt to me like the teams were blowing us out, and the second half was worse than the first half, which was telling me that the players had just quit on this guy, that they weren't fighting back, they weren't trying to make something out of a 20-point loss. And to me, that's when I said, okay, I'm done with Moore too. And so I got rid of Moore. And then when Carroll came in, I said, look, this is what somebody said in the front office at Seattle: 9 wins in 2 years, 4 of them against the Cardinals and the Rams, is not exactly a glowing resume for a franchise. And I agree. Let's give this guy a chance. Let's see how he does. And I was all for it. And I really felt that it was either going to be a complete disaster or a complete overwhelming success. I don't think there was going to be any in between with Pete Carroll. We were either going to be 6-10 for the next 5 years, or we were going to have multiple Super Bowl and playoff appearances. And I think that's where we're at, to be honest. But I said that when it happened. He's either going to really work or really not. And wow, has that guy worked. And a part of him that is, I think, severely underrated. And now, of course, we won the Super Bowl, and everyone's looking at the Seahawks as this, can't miss franchise, and, isn't he wonderful and a genius? But before that, something about his game that was always, I felt, underrated was his ability to be a defensive mind. I think he's one of the best defensive minds in football. And I think he's proven that by taking these 5th and 6th round draft picks and making them Pro Bowlers, on the defensive side especially. But that's a part of his game. Like Holmgren came from the offensive side, Carroll comes from the defensive side. And I think as a defensive coach, I think he's outstanding. I think he's one of the most underrated defensive minds in football today, and maybe over the last few years, for sure.
The thing is, the fact he's underrated comes from his choice of players. Is that because he doesn't take, all these media junkies and all these pundits and all these, we hear him at the combine every year that sit there and predicting who the first pick is going to be, months and months and months before the draft and before their combine and before their pro days, and you're already hearing these people saying who's going to get picked. But Pete Carroll annoys them almost because he turns around and does exactly the opposite. I'll go and take a load of 6th-round picks, and the value he gets from those. I mean, we would not have been able to have the quality of players we had on our defense if we didn't have, in essence, a really cheap offense because we had a rookie starting quarterback who's on $600,000 a year or something like that.
Something like that.
Nothing, just absolutely nothing in salary terms. But that allows us to pay, and has allowed us to pay up until next year, some pretty hefty names to bring them in. People like the Percy Harvins of this world. So, he doesn't follow the standard mantra when you build a team, when you pick a team players, and it's worked for him. I mean, but you're right, it was an absolutely a win or lose. Norb, what do you think?
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. And, the thing about it, too, is he is such a good defensive coach. And his background goes not just those 2 pro stints that he had. And actually, I don't remember his record offhand, but it wasn't a terrible record. Didn't he make the postseason with New England?
Well, it was 500. It was like 8-8 or something like that. It wasn't,
so it's not terrible. He wasn't awful. But, it was never quite pan out the way, obviously with the team and him weren't quite on the same page. But I think a lot of it, he credits his time during his time when he was assistant with the Vikings. And so he has been really a defensive guy for a long time. And so to see him build this defense up with a lot of, you talk about the no names on the offense. What about the no names on the defense that he's turning, like Wagner and Brandon Browner and Richard Sherman and I'm trying to think who else. The MVP.
Malcolm.
Malcolm Smith. These guys are. These were not big names that they brought in. They were all kind of late round guys and some of them just no one knew about, and here they are now, some of the most important guys on the team. So, so
how much
really
of that
smart.
is Schneider? How much of that is Schneider though?
Well, it's both of them. But
but it's all one machine, and it's not even just those 2. Obviously, they rely on their scouts too to find this talent because they can't be everywhere. So I'm sure that their scouting department, those guys have to be looking, and there'd be the eyes and ears to say, "Hey, John, you got to check out this guy over here." And so it's as one unit. They, as a team, their upper management department knows what they're doing to make that all work, and you got to have all those pieces. You can't just have one guy who's really good and a bunch of guys who are not on the same page, right? So it is truly a team, concept. Not just on the field, but off the field as well. So it's great.
It's interesting though because the Schneider Carroll combo is the first combo ever, which has actually made me have faith in picks that they're making. So and I have automatic faith. My new phrase on the board whenever I'm on Suffolk Blue, whenever I'm saying stuff normally is, well, if the front office have said it, who am I to argue with it? Because if those two guys went out and found me a bloke with a bad limp and missing a leg and fingers and stuff and put them on the field and said he's going to be a fantastic receiver, then I would probably still sit there and say okay, fine. If you think he could do it, he could do it because they've earned that on the basis that the players that they're picking have just been phenomenal, really.
Yes, they really have.
You know what I wonder sometimes as we have these conversations, and when you win a Super Bowl, you do nothing but completely pat everybody on the back who did such a great job. But imagine if we had actually lost the Super Bowl. Would we still be saying the same things here and patting on, or would we be on the other side going, it's just this philosophy. I don't know if this has worked. It's because when you lead up to the Super Bowl, how much was everything about how Denver had the ultimate offense, and if they won, everybody would have said, "Yep, see,
I told you,
dominated, and we were it." And John Fox, 3 more years, make him the highest paid coach. And of course, our coach got 3 years, same deal. So I'm not quite sure how that all works out, but you know what I mean. But it's funny how when you win, good things happen. So
good things happen.
I'm glad we have this situation to be patting everybody on the back and doling out the compliments, because when you think about the opposite, and it's just funny how the tide can turn so quickly in one game.
The thing is,
but they do it.
I think most of our team, though, had we have lost the Super Bowl, and the very fact that we'd have gotten to a Super Bowl again since 2005 would have been enough, I think, to boost us a little bit, that we were back on the top table.
Yeah, it's going to depend on what happens in the Super Bowl. If it was 43-8 as opposed to 20-17 or something too, what kind of game was the Super Bowl? If it was a closely fought game.
But Moses, I can tell you what our arguments would have been was this is a young team. Mm-hmm. You know, we didn't have Percy Harvin for the whole of the season, so we didn't have our main weapons.
Right.
You know, it's all of these things. We would have probably have kept Golden Tate, because let's be honest, Detroit wouldn't have wanted him if he hadn't have won.
Yeah.
We would have kept probably all of our players pretty much within reason, to be fair. And we would have just said, young team, Percy Harvin didn't play, we're ready for this year. So to be honest, I don't think that much would have changed, other than the fact that we know that we could get to the top table with this team, and we would do it again.
One last question about Carroll. When I can sit here and I can tell you the game. I think it was 2010. I'm going to guess it was 2010. I'm going to have to look back on but I know the exact game. Was there a moment for either of you, and I'll ask you first, and I'll tell you what I said, when you knew this team had arrived, that the philosophy of Carroll was obvious, there was a direction, there was obviously what they wanted to do on offense and defense? Was there a game that you saw, or a moment that you saw, that you said, okay, this is what Carroll is trying to get done? Norb, I'll start with you. Is there a moment that hit you?
You're saying the 2010 season?
No, I'm saying for me it was, but was there a moment for you sometime in this tenure where you said, as the Seahawks, they've turned the corner, that this is what Carroll wants, this is Pete Carroll football, there's no doubt about it now that this team is headed in the right direction, and, just where you see that whole philosophy of his come out in a game? Was there a game or a play or anything like that?
I think for me, it was last season, how they started it, because where I really respected one of the biggest decisions they made was the taking Russell Wilson and not just giving it to Matt Flynn because they paid all that money to him. I just love the fact that they aren't afraid to cut a guy who they paid money to, just because all of us naturally kind of feel like, well, I already put this money in, I gotta use this thing now. It's a natural human tendency to go, well, I've invested in it, so I'm kind of stuck with it. They don't think that way. They go, the competition thing is real. And when they made that move, because I really wanted Russell to be the quarterback in preseason, that they'd switch to him, and I wasn't sure if they're going to do it. And when they pulled the trigger move, and and then as that season played out, it was we saw it unfold that this was the identity of the team truly came out during the entire course. I can't say which game, but just to start the season, when they made that switch, I already was like, okay, I respect these guys even more now, because conventional thinking would have been, you don't pay this guy this much money and not start him. That's completely insane,
Right.
And it was a gamble that it paid off. But obviously, they put their money where their mouth was, to say, we're going to let all that money part go and really give it to the guy who deserved it. And so Russell Wilson being my hero personally with the team. I love what that guy stands for off the field and on the field, especially in the wake of a Kaepernick type of story we've been hearing about. It makes you feel that much better. You got a guy, a first class guy like Wilson, and so that's why so much more. I'm glad they made that choice, and ever since that point, I've been all in with what those guys have decided and never questioned anything that they've done.
Excellent.
I kind of been like, I trust them.
What about you? What about you, Matthew? You got anything?
2010 for me, I think, was the Chicago game, which was the away game, Chicago. And the reason I remember, I think it was one of the first games that Lynch actually played, and also it was our first win since 2007 on the road outside division. So for me, when you start to win away game, bearing in mind that all we ever hear was that Seattle they're okay at home, they're easily beatable away. Okay at home, but they're never going to win an away game. We walked to Soldier Field and we won. So these sorts of moments, and I agree absolutely with what Norm just said. It's the fact that when Pete Carroll says something, you have to have faith in it, because he's never knowingly lied to anyone, because when he turns around and says to somebody, "This is about competition. It's about always competing." And if you are the best man for the job, you will have that job. And and I don't know how much they paid Matt Flynn to walk away from Seattle, but I know it was a lot because he had a hell of a guaranteed lump to go with that. And they made him go away and went for the right bloke. So you have faith in his decisions. He has conviction. You believe what he says. For me, I think, as I say, that it was the week 6 game at Chicago. Where we won our first away game non-divisional since 2007. That's when the tide starts to turn, and it was a thumping win as well.
Yeah. Well, for me, I looked it up. 2011, November 13th, a 1:00 game at home against the very healthy and very physical Baltimore Ravens, and the Seattle Seahawks for 4 quarters not only went toe to toe with the big bad physical Ravens, but smacked them in the face for 4 straight quarters in a very physical, brutal 22-17 game. And they won that game, and they were only 3-6. They're going to finish 7-9 that year, and it's not a big deal. But to me, I remember that game as being, for me, saying, okay, I get it. We are now going to smack you in the face. We're going to, on offense and defense, and that's what we did to a team known to do that, which is the Ravens. And that's when I said, okay, we've arrived. At that point, I was happy with this team. And that same year, I hate to say this, but there was a loss against the 49ers late in the year, 17-19. It had been our only home loss until this season, our last home loss. And that was a 17-19 game that was like a 15-round fight between 2 heavyweights. I mean, it was just knockdown, drag out, beating each other for 4 quarters, and I loved every minute of it. Unfortunately, I didn't like the score, but I loved the physicality. And that Ravens game was when I first saw that, and I said, okay, this team is on its way for me.
The thing is, as well, is that we suffered that injury at the Giants game because it was Jackson that got the injury at the Giants game, didn't he? Yeah. So he was injured for the rest of that season, played on with an injury, which I know gave him a lot of kudos in terms of the fans who says, the man who plays on when he's injured. I kept criticising him because it was his fault that he got injured in the first place for taking the unnecessary run. But when against the Ravens, was it Clipboard Jesus who was playing, or was Jackson back in at that point?
I'm not sure.
I can't remember.
I think it was Jackson.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
I can't recall.
Yeah.
I don't remember who was quarterback. All I remember is Marshawn Lynch juking out.
Jackson was
putting
quarterback.
a move on.
He was breaking the ankles of Ray Lewis there late in the game.
Ray Lewis, he juked him out of his in that drive to keep the ball, so we never had to get back to the Ravens, and we just ran out the clock. That was the play of that game. I'll never forget. He just left him clutching air.
Me too.
That was
Me
great.
too.
Yeah,
that was
Lynch was a great addition.
We had a guy on our show a couple years ago that knew somebody who actually went to school with Ray Lewis or something, and said that he kind of blew him some garbage after that game and said, "Hey, what happened?" And Ray's like, "Dude, he just put a great move on me. I mean, what can I say? The guy just really did a great job. I mean, that's all he kind of speechless, saying the guy was great. I mean, he made a great move on me, and I went for him and looked stupid." But one thing that doesn't look stupid.
Holy shit, it's a 2-minute warning.
Is of course this year's Seahawks, and here at our 2-minute break here before halftime, I did want to share this with you guys real quick and just see if you have anything to comment about this. I looked up just how dominating this 2013 team was. They were 13-3, and then they won the Super Bowl by 35 points against the record-breaking #1 offense. So I thought, well, gee, how special was this year? So in the Super Bowl era, there have been 48 Super Bowls. So for 48 years, I went back and I looked at everybody who had won the Super Bowl by 20 or more points, okay, just to kind of get a base. And I said, okay, 15 times a team has won a Super Bowl by 20 or more points. That's kind of impressive. To be part of that 15 out of 48 is pretty special. But then I raised the bar. And I said, okay, here's what I want to know. I want to know who's won by that amount, but also had a record of 13-3 or better. There are, in the history of the Super Bowl for 48 years, this has happened 4 times.
Wow.
4 times. Here's the rundown. The 86 Bears went 15-1. Everyone considers them one of the best of the Super Bowl era. I understand that. But they also beat a Patriots team that was a wild card team that barely got through the playoffs to get into the Super Bowl. And the Bears wiped the floor with them. I understand. But, this wasn't a great team the Bears beat in the Super Bowl. The 93 Cowboys were 13-3. They beat the Bills 52-17 in the Super Bowl, but that was also a Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, Jim Kelly got injured during that Super Bowl. So they were playing a Bills team without Kelly for most of that game. I'm just kind of throwing this out. In my opinion, the best team in the Super Bowl era was the 1990 49ers. And you know how it pains me to say that. But
and good night, everybody.
They were here's how dominant the 99ers were. They were 14-2. They were second in the league in offense. They were third in the league in defense for the season. That's pretty spectacular. They rolled through their playoffs. They won 41-14 and 20-3 to get to the Super Bowl. Then they beat the Broncos 55-10. That gentleman, that's dominating. I mean, to me, I think that's pretty good. I think the Broncos were pretty good that year too. Then comes our team.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, then comes our team, 13-3, beats the record-breaking number 1 defense, our offense, holds them to 8 points and wins 43-8. Now, I don't know how you would put all those together. I would put us at number 3 of those 4 teams because I still think the Bears at 15-1, that was a pretty amazing season overall.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
But still, to be one of the 4, so what I'm saying basically is in 48 years, we just witnessed one of the 4 greatest seasons all the way through the Super Bowl in the history of the NFL. That's how special this was.
Absolutely, we did. But what makes it even more special is that all the way throughout the process of us winning that Super Bowl in the impressive fashion you mentioned, is that the media and the press were basically saying, well, they're okay, they're good, they've got some good players, their defense is reasonably good, their offense is rubbish, they're not really with it, they've had, we had drug, think about it, and you think how dominating we would have been had we have had Percy Harvin for the entire season.
I hope we find out here coming up.
Holy shit, it's halftime.
And speaking of coming up, I think we're going to be coming up at the halftime here. We're going to take a quick station identification, and then we're going to interview Norb, talk about Norbcam, talk about Freight, talk about some quick things, and then start the second half. And we'll be right back after this.
Hey, this is Matt, all the way from merry old England, and you're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam.
Next, the 12th Man Fan Jam presents another interview with Moses.
Yes, thank you, Matt, and welcome to Halftime Interviews with Moses. Our special guest this week has been talking to us throughout the show. He is known for his Norbcam. He's also known as a writer and director and producer of Frayed, a movie that we'll talk about as well. And his name is Norb Caoili. Norb, thanks again for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
It's been fun so far. Halfway through, no disasters. So
plenty of time yet, Norm.
It's early. It's early.
I jinxed it. It's jinxed now. No.
And we invite you on because we love Norbcam. We love the Norbcam channel on YouTube. Tell us how that all started for you. How did Norbcam all happen?
Yeah, that's a question a lot of people ask me, and it's it's funny. I actually get accused on haters on the channel. People saying, Seahawks fans are all bandwagoners. Look at this guy. He didn't start making videos until they went to the Super Bowl.
God.
Yeah, I've been season ticket holder since '96 and a lifelong fan. I got the proof if you want to see it, but I don't waste time arguing with you guys. But the point is, it's just sort of serendipitous. The fact that I started doing it this year, that we went to the Super Bowl, was kind of a little bit of luck because it was the Tampa Bay game that started it all, because I was just watching games like everybody else. I didn't shoot anything. I just want to soak everything in. And to me, when I go to a game, I just want to make sure I'm screaming as loud as I can.
Yep.
When the defense, the opposing when the opposing offense is on, it got the ball. So that's my primary focus and still is. But we had that 21-point deficit at the half for the Tampa Bay game, and we were all like, "What the heck is going on?" And when we slowly started seeing the comeback happening, and we were on that last drive to score the game-winning field goal, I thought, I got to record this for posterity and just capture this historic comeback. We may never see another one this big again. It's been so many years since it happened before that. So I whipped out my phone, recorded, talked about it just to kind of, get all my emotions of what was happening at that moment, describing the plays and everything. And so I was going to do it for myself, but then I posted it online just for grins. And then people really enjoyed watching it and said they asked me to do the next game. So I did, which happened to be the Monday Night Football Saints game. And then then they wanted the next one. And so I just kind of grew from there. And as the demand for it grew, so did my excitement and fervor, and realizing I got to kind of make an entertaining show out of this, because now I got these people to answer to who are looking for these things now. So that's kind of where it all started, was really the Tampa Bay game. And then It just so happened, as we kept having such a great season, it just, the momentum for the team built, and so did the Norbcam popularity. So it was a combination of the both, but it just all started with that historic comeback that sparked the whole thing.
The thing is, Norb, as well, is that what makes these sorts of videos. And we had Chuck on the show, the last show we were on, the show before, when Chuck was on and talking about 12th Man View. The thing is if you don't live in Seattle, if you're a Seahawks fan, you don't live in Seattle, or if, like me, you don't live in the United States, then getting that atmosphere, getting that feel of the game, everyone assumes, if they've never been to a game, that it's a very long-winded, slow game, slow progress, la 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 la. If you watch the videos and if you saw that, it really isn't like that. And for me, as somebody who lives outside the US, I want to say a big thank you, actually, because you bring a game to me which I wouldn't be able to experience or see otherwise. Can I also say the best bit about Norbcam for me, which takes it away from 12 Man View entirely, is the makeup. Because you absolutely get a town on the face, but the best bit about the makeup is when you see the start of the video, it's absolutely pristine, and as the video progresses, it slides off your face and sort of down the rest of your body. So as you watch the whole thing, if you actually speed up a Norbcam and you start at the beginning and you just scroll along, you just see this makeup just sort of slide off less. It's great.
Well, and we've had some pretty rainy games too, so it just adds to the grit of the nastiness of it all, especially that New Orleans game. But it's cool that you bring that up, and that you brought 12th Fan View and Chuck. He actually commented to me and gave me a compliment for what I was doing, and we had a little bit of interchange there, and I just told him I respect what he's been doing, because he's been doing it for a longer time, and I've seen his stuff too. So what I tell people is, I'm not trying to compare them. To me, it's like, that's his view, and now here's my view.
Exactly.
Each one's different. We have different
and we love them
styles,
both.
we have different views.
Yeah, and we love them. We love them both. We love them all out there. I mean,
yeah, and I was like, just everybody watch them all, and you'll just get a different experience, because it's like sitting in a different seat. Like, I'm going to sit next to this guy, and I'll get this experience. You sit next to me, you'll get my experience. Just like if you were actually at a game, who you sit next to changes entirely what kind of game. And some people told me I'm obnoxious and stuff. I'm like, okay, it's fine, but I know a lot of people who enjoy it. So that's fine. You don't have to watch me. So, but for those who do and are enjoying it, it's for those guys.
Exactly.
So, But yeah, that's the whole thing. So many people thank me for just getting, like what you said, who have gotten the chance to experience what it's like to get that 12th, the legendary 12th man experience. It really does kind of give them that sense of being in the beehive and the cage, and how crazy and raucous it really does get. And so to me, it's kind of like, I feel like it's my own personal duty as a guy who has the skill set to put videos like this together, and that I go to the games this way, marrying the two and sharing it with the world. I feel like that's kind of just, I feel like what I've been put on this world to do at this point in my life. So
that's excellent.
To put it into kind of a higher level of purpose. But it's really been a lot of fun. It's given myself, new purpose to, not only go to the games and do the paint and everything and just, bring it to the next level, but even just my own researching on what's going on with the team. I probably wouldn't be quite as tied into all the off-season stuff as I would be if I didn't have this. But now that I've got, the fans and networking with 12s who want to hear more, it's forced me to kind of just become that much more interjected in everything that goes on. And I'm so constantly looking for stories and looking for guys like you who are in the know and what's going on. And it's great. I've been getting more out of it myself because I'm sort of like a sponge now, just soaking in everything Seahawks at all times. So it's been a great thing for me as well as for the people who enjoy watching what I do.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and we all love it. And my son and I, sit and watch him, and he loves them, and I love him. And I told him I was going to talk to you tonight. And he was all excited because he's that guy on the camera. I'm like, yep, that guy on the camera. We're going to talk to him. So he was excited about that. What about you? What do you get the biggest kick out of when you make the videos? Is there any part of it that you really, really enjoy?
Oh, geez. I think for me, what's fun to watch is we all love winning, but there's nothing better than an intense game where you're just on the edge of your seat, right? I mean, it's drama at its best.
Yep.
And there were so many times we've been in those situations. That's why the Super Bowl felt so alien to be like, whoa, we're winning and there's nothing to be nervous about. This is weird. So those games where I think, you see me screaming and just trying to cheer, but those times when you see the anguish of, oh, God, we're gonna, just feel like we're gonna lose, and it's like the Super Bowl is the Lombardi slipping through our fingers. That's true anguish that you're seeing on my face of just complete nervous wreck as a fan. And I've seen 49er fans who have told me they enjoyed watching my pain, even though at the end we win. They enjoyed watching me squirm and being suffering, thinking we might lose it, and it's fun for me to relive it knowing that we end up winning.
Right.
But that's the drama. That's the fun of football. And nobody, nothing beats a close game that comes down to the wire.
No, definitely not.
Everybody loves a close competitive. That's why the NFC Championship game is it's the most hit video on all the games that I did. But it was such a great game. One of the best games I've ever seen and been to. And you couldn't ask for anything more in terms of drama and an epic finish. So
absolutely.
That's what I think is fun, is just the ups and downs of, we're the best, and oh God, no, how did that happen? To the, oh, please God, don't let us lose. And that is just, I never get tired of reliving those games, and have captured my reaction of it is pretty hilarious to actually be seeing myself now in the mirror, kind of watching that and knowing other people are watching me.
But loving it though.
I do have to spend a lot of time. Yeah, loving it, but I have to spend a lot of time editing out my curses, man, because I got to keep it G-rated.
I was going to ask how long do you spend?
F-bombs in this that people don't hear, fortunately. So,
well, how long? And while you're on that, how long does that typically take for you to kind of put the finished product up together?
Boy, it just depends on the game. The tighter the game and the more intense scenes and the more curses there are, usually that's the slowest thing that makes it drag out the process. So the NFC Championship game was tough. The New Orleans game was a tight one. So I'd say in general, from the time I sit down, basically take the footage out of the camera, it's a good 4 to 5 hour process, because I gotta, I take the footage from the broadcast, I sync that up to my footage at the game. And then I got to go through and cut it down from 3 hours to, this 20, 30, or 40-minute cut down. So it's trying to figure out what plays are good, what's the good reactions, what's some good time for some of this humor stuff, because there's a lot of material to go through. So it's a good 4 or 5 hour process of editing and trying to make it as entertaining and concise as possible. So it's some time, but, I'll never complain of having to sit down and edit Seahawk highlights. I mean, that's not work to me. That's like fun.
I'm with you on that.
Spent. So
I'm definitely with you on that.
So it's a labor of love, totally. But I love every second, because I could sit there and watch Seahawk football highlights all day long.
What equipment do you use? What camera have you got? Is it just a phone, or have you upgraded?
It started as a phone, but then what I've been using at the Clink is it's just a Sony Handycam HD camcorder. It fits the palm of my hand. It's like an HDR CX850 or something like that. So it's a couple years old, but works great. Small. Security doesn't question it, and
Cool.
battery lasts for a long time, and it quality's awesome.
Have they questioned you? Because obviously, I mean, anyone who's seen, I mean, although there's lots of people wearing blue and green face paint at the Clink, obviously, but do you get recognised? Do people recognise you now when you go to games?
It became more and more as the season went on. And I found it. I went to the rally before the New Orleans game just because it's close to my house, actually, where they had the City Hall rally in Renton. That's where I live. So I hopped down there, and first thing that happened, I walked out of the parking lot, and some people, hey, we just saw your music video you posted last night. I was like,
cool.
Whoa, wow, that's great. So several people came up to me and told me they saw me either the music videos or the games. And so, yeah, so it's been a little bit more and more, and like I play volleyball once a week, and I went to a volleyball game, and some guy goes, "Hey, Norbcam!" Just some of the most random of places. So
Excellent.
I feel like this season, since I'm going to start from the beginning and really document the season from the start with the kind of hitting the ground running, it may be more, hopefully more people will tune in and recognize me on it. But yeah, so I mean, it's not like I'm a celebrity walking around, but definitely it's been a little bit more frequent.
Very
have
cool.
That. I think it's great.
Awesome.
It's awesome to just have that connection with fans.
Yeah, it definitely is. Now you were able to go to New York with a rather handsome person there with you, your dad, I believe. Yep. And you and your dad are all over the Super Bowl video. Yes, you and your dad are all over the Super Bowl video. Just a wonderful video. Talk about your Super Bowl experience, man. You were there. We were all watching, but you were in the stadium. You were filming it. You had Bronco fans around you, of course. We all see that. Directly behind you, I think there were some orange shirts I saw. Tell us about that whole experience, man. Yeah, tell us about the whole Super Bowl experience.
Boy, it's a long story, so I got to try to focus on the key parts of it. I think the main thing about the Super Bowl, just getting there, was I was not planning to go. I was hoping I'd get the lucky lottery pick, for the season ticket holders. I didn't get it. I kind of wrote it off, and my wife really encouraged me let's just buy the ticket, take your dad, you guys will love it, and we did that. So once we made that commitment to let's just bite the bullet, let's just make it happen. We got over there, and the experience was, definitely a trip of a lifetime. My father and I hadn't been on a trip, just the two of us, and I can't remember how many years. And so just to be on a trip with him was, one, by itself great, but then two, to have it all about Seahawks and football was awesome. But, we spent the day on Saturday in New York City at the Super Bowl Broadway, where they took Super Bowl Boulevard. And just had a great time just chanting Seahawks all day long, seeing all the 12th man, and meeting a few fans I knew from over here, who I happened to run into, and it was really just from the time we were on the airplane to getting on the ground, just constantly 12-man Seahawks. Everybody's ready to just chant at any given time.
Wonderful.
So it was great to be around people who are so into the moment, and it carried on when we got into the stadium, because it was just, you never heard it stop. It was constantly, you're hearing some Seahawks somewhere in some corner of the end zone, just randomly popping up. And Broncos don't really have a cheer, so it's great that Seattle has this very identifiable that you hear it on the broadcast and visiting stadiums. It's always present, and it was no more obvious when we were at the Super Bowl, just to hear it breaking out in like random spots throughout the stadium. But we were loud from the get-go. Obviously, Broncos weren't prepared for it.
Right.
And again, I think the parts that just stood out to me, that was, I think that being there, where you can't get the same experience just watching it, being there was just the fireworks were so close to us because of where we were sitting. It was right above our heads, because they had fireworks right all along the perimeter of the building. So I've never been so close to fireworks in my life, because, you go to a fireworks like on some lake or in the middle of a field. Like, I don't think they're supposed to put fireworks 20 feet behind your head. Really? But it was so loud, but, the smoke and the smell and how you could feel it every time it went off. And they were just lighting the fireworks off constantly from the beginning to the, at halftime. And then, of course, at the end when we won. Wow. So that really stood out as something that, being there in the stadium was just, you can't compare to watching fireworks on TV, just being right, within feet of the explosions.
Yeah.
And then opening the game when they did the military flyover, that it was awesome. I'd never seen it like that, and just because the light was casting up below them, and when they flew over, it was so large and in front of you, and literally you felt like you could just reach out and grab them. It was spectacular. And leading up to the game time, we got there and the sun was setting. We had a view. We have had seats almost exactly the same spots during our games at home. So superstitious, thing to
That's awesome.
Emulate everything. And so the view though was great because the sunset was right in front of us, going over the edge of the other side of the stadium.
Wow.
So just watching the sun as it behind, and then the moon came up, and then the stadium got bathed in darkness. I mean, the way it just led up to the game was just awesome. So
that's great.
So that was great, and of course to win like we did in such dominating fashion. I mean, we couldn't stop cheering.
Yeah,
and I felt so bad for the Bronco guys next to us because they couldn't cheer about anything
the
whole game except one touchdown in garbage time, and I thought, man, if I'd spent whatever several $1,000 to watch that, boy, what a frustrating trip that would have been. So anyway, I'm so happy we were on the winning end of that.
Yep.
And it was definitely just a trip of a lifetime, and to be able to witness the most amazing Super Bowl win was spectacular, and it's great to tape it and be able to show everybody.
Exactly. And
great.
We got to share in that with you guys, which is fantastic. That's the best part. Is thanks to Norbcam, we can share that with you. I know you also do some videos, you do some songs. What's around the corner for Norbcam? Give us a little sneak peek of what you got coming in.
I'm just planning to build on what I've started, and I feel like this just kind of scratched the surface. Obviously, the Norbcam, which is probably the most popular thing of me going to the games, that will start when the season starts, and so that will happen on its schedule, just like you guys doing the games when they start to happen.
Right.
But in the meantime, especially during the off season and filler time within, I have other songs. I've got a couple of anthems so far for the Seahawks that I've written and done music videos for.
Excellent.
But I got another song. More coming, so definitely more music videos. But I've got my Norb blog as well, which is kind of just a weekly thing that I do where I talk about off-season stuff, and I'll try to keep that going every week just to kind of keep just sort of like more of just informational things that are going on behind the scenes. And then I've just got a bunch of entertainment and comedy sketches, both musical and just anything football where the casual fan who's not even a Seahawk fan will enjoy.
Cool.
And one of them is just sort of a little bit. It's going to be a football 101. That's going to be my take on sort of presenting in a very creative, fun way basic things about football that maybe the casual fan doesn't know about penalties, about certain formations. Cool. And it's a way of sort of educating some of the people out there who may not know all the details in a very fun way. So that's coming up soon. These are some things, just things that I've got in the works, but just got to get around to shooting them and putting them together.
Can you try and get the referees to see those videos as well? That would be great.
Yeah, that might make for some good education for them, because man, it is. I mean, those guys got a tough job because the rules they've been given. I mean, it's tough to be an official these days. Not like the good old days where they let you get away from everything. Now it's like, you can't hit a quarterback. Pretty much the only thing you can do with a quarterback is hit him in the nuts. That's pretty much the only spot you can hit him.
That's pretty much it.
So,
as long as you don't hit him in the equipment, you're okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, but I've got this thing going with the Norbcam thing that I'm waiting on. I've been hinting at the secret project that if I may know by next week. If it goes, it'll be a big time boost for the Norbcam and the channel. So
excellent.
I'll let you guys know if it happens. But it's keep my fingers crossed. Something that could be a pretty big opportunity for all this Norbcam stuff I've been doing. So we'll see if it happens. But I gotta wait.
Well, excellent. Well, we're definitely looking forward to that.
So
good deal. We're definitely looking forward to that. This is
a good time.
Fantastic. Norb Caoili and his Norbcam. We're going to put a link up underneath our video here. You can access it. You can also access it on just it's Norbcam, the YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, Norbcam.
Yeah,
Norbcam. I lost you.
That's okay. That's okay. It's Norbcam and Norbcam, and we'll put a link underneath this as well. Also put a link to his movie Frayed, which is we talked about in the second quarter a little bit. Gave you a little sneak peek. We talked about his movie, his thriller that's on the Chiller channel every once in a while. And we'll put some other stuff up there. Norb, thanks so much for joining us on the show. And we'll take a quick break here, and we'll come back with the start of the second half right after this.
Hi, I'm Moses' daughter, Mosette, and this is a 12-man fan jam. Do I get my money now, Dad?
Okay, let me go get my wallet.
Welcome to the third quarter of the 12th Man Fan Jam. So once again, let us join our host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, the start of the third quarter of the special April Showers edition of the 12th Man Fan Jam. This is the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church Seahawk Positivity, alongside myself, Matt, from merry old England, and Norb Caoili of Norbcam fame. We are going to discuss the 2013 Seattle Seahawks, who won the Super Bowl. They were 13-3, and were without question the best team in Seattle history. However, the last time we went to a Super Bowl, we also had a 13-3 team, and that was in 2005. And of course, we all know how that ended up. But they did go to the Super Bowl and lost. We won't go into how they lost, because that's a very tender subject for a lot of Seahawk fans. But what I thought we would do is take these two teams and just kind of compare them statistically, and kind of make a super team in a very special deluxe edition of There Can Be Only One.
There can be only one.
Oh my.
Yes, there can be only one. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that season, not the careers of these players, but the season in particular of the 2005 Seattle Seahawks versus the 2013 Seattle Seahawks, and make one gigantic, big, super Seattle Seahawk football team. So, gentlemen, we will start now with the offensive line, and I think we can kind of pretty much, is there anyone in this posse that thinks that the offensive line of Jones and Hutchinson and Gray and Tobeck and Locklear is going to be inferior to the 2013 offensive line? Is there anyone who disagrees with that, says the 2013 line was better than the 2005? Don't everybody speak up at once. Don't everybody speak up at once.
No. See, this is the part of me thinks this could be a really quick segment, because
it could be
because they really don't compare very well at all. So no, I don't think you're going to get much argument from us.
No, I don't think so either. And I mean, let's face it, that team, Matt Hasselbeck could have come up and said, okay, 3rd and 1, we're going to run right here on the left side. We're going to hit this hole right here on 2. Everybody ready? And then you could hike the ball. So the offensive line's 2005 team, I agree with that. Now we're going to look at Matt's favorite position, which is the tight ends.
I love tight ends.
Yes, I know you do. And we really can't we have to do one tight end, because basically in 2005, Jeremy Stevens was the man. And in 2013, it'd have to be Zach Miller, even though Wilson did contribute a lot. Their stats were pretty close. Stevens had 45 receptions, 554 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Zach had 33 receptions, 387 yards, and 5 touchdowns. But if you can have only one, Matt, who would you take?
Well, I've not been Miller's biggest fan, as I've said on the show before. I haven't taken to this player. He does drop things and he's bulky. And that's not how I like my tight ends. We have this running gay joke, and that's all we do.
I know. I'm sorry. We do. That's all we do.
I would go with Miller though, because he's now cheaper. And I want to keep my players for next year, so I'll go with a cheaper option. Thanks.
Okay, so you're going Miller?
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Norb? Who do you think had the better year between the two of those guys, Jeremy Stevens or Zach Miller?
Well, I think I'd have to go with Miller as well, because if I recall, Stevens, he had a good season, but he sort of had that postseason funk where he did not play well.
Yeah, he did.
In the Super Bowl.
No, he
and
didn't.
if I recall, I don't even remember the postseason how well he played. I just remember everything was overshadowed by how poorly he played in the Super Bowl. And I remember he was talking smack. He was the first one to open his mouth.
Yes, he
and
was.
like, oh, did you have to do that, Steve?
Exactly.
I felt like it was karma or something. I just thought, great, now you completely just brought all the attention on yourself, and then of course he has a horrible game.
Right.
So looking at that, we were talking about how Super Bowl one game can kind of just affect the entire complexion of a year.
Yeah,
that's that overshadows everything that he did great for the rest of that season. And
now one
so
thing
I'd
he
say
did.
Zach would take him.
Now one thing I think that Jeremy did do was he had when it was 14. It was 14-10? No. We were driving, and we finally had a decent drive, and he caught that ball at the 3, and that's when that phantom holding came up against Locklear.
Yep.
I thought, we score on that drive, and it's over.
Game over.
And that was when Jeremy Stevens caught the ball at the 3. And the Steelers were clearly on the ropes, and they had that that phantom holding call. But I mean, other than that, you're right. I don't remember. So I think Zach Miller is going to be our tight end on this team. The receivers, actually, I took the top 3 receivers from both seasons as far as receptions. And they matched up pretty well. The 3 guys from 2005 were Bobby Ingram, Joe Jurevicius, and Darrell Jackson. From 2013, Golden Tate, Doug Baldwin, and Jermaine Kearse. The 2005 receivers combined for 160 receptions, 1,950 yards, and 16 touchdowns. The guys from this season, 136 receptions, 2,000 yards, and 14 touchdowns. And they really kind of balance out rather nicely. It's hard to think back 2005, but Jurevicius had 10 touchdowns that year. Bobby Ingram had 3, and Darrell Jackson only had 3 touchdowns. And I remember thinking back thinking, wow, Darrell only had 3 touchdowns that year. And then this year, Golden Tate had 5. Yeah, Baldwin had 5, and Kearse had 4. So, Norb, who do you think, I mean, between Tate, Baldwin, Kearse, or Ingram, Jurevicius, Jackson, just that season, who's the receiving core you'd rather have?
I'd quite like Jurevicius in there.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I'm trying to think who I would drop for Jurevicius. It's hard.
See, that's a tough one. I to me,
did you say I could drop Rice?
I didn't put Rice on there. They were the top 3 receivers that were receivers this year for Seattle was Tate, Baldwin, and Kearse, other than tight ends.
If I could drop Rice, I'd take Jurevicius.
But which of the 3?
Well, he was out. He was out, so you can't drop him because he wasn't part of the equation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think Bobby Ingram was always clutch on third down. You think Jurevicius had a really amazing season considering that he was just a journeyman at the time, and he wound up with 10 touchdowns. Darrell Jackson was the go-to guy. And this is a hard one.
The thing is, though, is with Baldwin being the third, that he's the third man. Do you know what I mean? He's hungry for the game. He's got that chip on his shoulder. You've got Kearse, who I think has got an amazing speed. Tate, obviously, who's now gone to the Lions, but still a fantastic player. A little bit of growing up to do, but a fantastic player nonetheless. I can't drop any of those for Jurevicius. I wouldn't do that. I just don't think I could.
So you're going to say 2013 for you?
I'm going to have to, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I tried hard because, if I could have slipped him in rather than Rice, then I would have done.
What about Norb? Who do you think? 2005 or 2013?
I think Ingram and Baldwin are almost mirror images of each other. Clutch guys on third down, but I would give it to Baldwin. I think Baldwin has I don't know the stats to back it up, but it feels like he's always been so clutch in third down, just a hair more than Ingram was, and he was a clutch guy too. I might take Jurevicius if I can capture the essence of looking back at 2005. Jurevicius had a great season.
Just that one season, right?
Kearse,
right?
Because he had a really good season. So I might put him ahead of Kearse, and then I would probably put Tate instead of Jackson. Even I surprised me about the 3 touchdowns with Jackson.
Yeah,
but Jackson again had one of those games in the Super Bowl where he just didn't play well. I remember he got the pass that BS call, the pass interference on the first drive.
Yeah.
But then he had one where he was going down. It was like he made attempted a catch at like the 3-yard line, And he just seemed to not put the effort to keep his feet in. And if he had, we probably could have scored a touchdown on that. It was a little bit wide, if you recall the play. But I just remember thinking that, man, why did you try tiptoeing a little bit? He just sort of ran in stride, and he didn't catch the ball in bounds. And so I recall just so many bad memories of our offense, moments in that game. And so for that, I feel like Tate, if I were to put him in his position, that I think Tate would have. Tate's a playmaker, and I think he would have stepped up and in that situation. So I would put Tate. So I would just swap Curse for Jervicius and keep the other two.
Well, it's funny. You talk about Ingram and Baldwin. They both had 778 yards receiving, identical, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that weird? But I'm kind of with you guys. I think Tate, Baldwin, and Jervicius.
Makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this one I think is pretty easy, this next one, because everyone loves beast mode, and what's not to love? And he had 1,257 rushing yards and 300 yards receiving, which I think is a very underrated part of his game. But when you're facing a guy with over 1,800 yards rushing and 28 touchdowns in the year that Sean Alexander had, I don't know. Yeah. Can anybody not pick Sean? Norb, are you in Sean's camp on this one? Because I know I am.
Now this is the chicken before the egg kind of thing. Now
this
imagine
is a season,
Marshawn Lynch. I know, but put Marshawn Lynch behind that line.
Yeah, you're right.
And then tell me if you can't say he would have just as many. If you could say next year you get that line from 2005 and put Marshawn Lynch behind it, that we won't think we're going to just completely tear the league apart next year.
I like it.
So when I look at that, because you got to look at the line. The line sets the table for the running back.
You do.
I give him credit because there's one thing. Alexander had a nose for the end zone, and he knew how to get touchdowns when we got in the red zone. And that's one of Seattle's weakest points of this past couple of years.
Yep.
So I give him credit for that. But I love Marshawn Lynch to death. I know everybody else does with his style. But put him behind that line, how well he's done considering the line he's been running behind, I just think he would just tear the roof off the place if he had that line. So I'm going to stick with Lynch.
You're going to stick with Lynch?
Even knowing what I remember from...
All right.
Yep. Because I'm taking that line. I'm taking that line. You got to take that line and put Lynch behind it. And I think I would take... I wouldn't look at the numbers. I'd look at the combination.
Nice. That's more numbers.
Just a question, Moses. Just a question. You've probably got the stats on this. I'm pretty sure you have. How many earthquakes did Sean Alexander cause?
I'm going to say none.
Then I'm staying with Lynch. Look, the man moves
mountains.
The man moves the ground beneath our feet. I mean, look. The thing is obviously both phenomenal players. I think right now, in the way in which the game is played now, I go with Lynch. It's far more physical, far more dangerous. I want the big man in there. Power.
You guys turning down the NFL MVP.
Yeah, but the man doesn't make earthquakes.
He had broken the record for most touchdowns.
Can I tell you, I'm also sponsored by Skittles. Sorry.
But at the end of the day, which back is more fun to watch?
Absolutely.
Good Lord.
Put all that other stuff aside. Who do you want to watch run and go? Oh, he's getting the ball. You know who you want to watch because you don't know what Lynch will do when that linebacker comes to hit him, be 2 yards behind the end.
Little baby stiff arm. Just a little baby.
You know what Alexander's going to do when the linebacker shows up in his face 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He's going to curl up in the field position and hit the ground.
There it is. There it is.
Hey,
bunch of haters.
I'm just saying, this is a fact. It's true, though.
Oh my God!
True.
But the thing about it, though, is that he played it smart, though. I mean, he kept himself healthy for the most part because he didn't try to do too much. And there's something to be said about being available when you got to be there, So I'm not a hater of Sean Alexander by any stretch. I don't hate the guy.
But I'm shocked that you guys went with Mark.
There can only be one. So
there can only be one.
There can only be one.
I love it. This one I hate. The next two I absolutely hate. But and we're not quite to quarterbacks yet. That's going to be unbelievable. But now, who would you rather? There can be only one. Norb, Max Strong, or Mike Robb?
Actually, that's not as hard for me. I thought you were going to say something else. I'll take Max Strong.
Yeah. I can understand that. See now, and Mike Robb is like my favorite Seahawk
I don't have any
right
reasons.
now,
I have no stats whatsoever, and I love Mike Robb, and I love the Real Rob report, and that's really why I really want him to get re-signed. But the Max Strong was. I just remember Max Strong never feeling like I had to worry about him, and that he was, was reliable, and so is Mike Robb for that matter. I just feel like there was like one extra notch. I don't. If he feels like he was bigger, he played bigger than what I feel Mike Robb is.
Yeah,
even though I love both of them. So I
exactly
just feel like he was a big part of why, again, Alexander did so well. It was blowing holes open for the guys. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it kind of ties in with that line we had. You put Max Strong with that line. I just felt like that combination was just perfect. So
I'm with you.
I'll take Mac.
You'll take Mac, okay.
But Mike Robb would have to stay on the team so he could do Mike Robb report.
The Mike Robb report.
Matt, the Real Rob report.
I would take Max Strong too. Max, he had the longest run actually. He had the longest rush for the Seahawks for years, for ages.
Yes.
And actually, if memory serves, the one that the run that beat him was the Beastquake one, was the Earthquake one. 67 yards. So it would be that one. So I think he had the longest run. I mean, look, I love Mike Robb too. I think he brings intangibles with him, his leadership position, his ability to. I mean, look at. I think one of the most touching scenes from Super Bowl. Touching is not something you often see in Super Bowl. Touching emotional scenes was watching Mike Robb have to sit next to Marshawn Lynch during a journalist scrum. Just to provide that support for that phenomenal player.
That was
an amazing thing to do. So I think Mike Robb brings to lots of tangibles. He's a great leader, great bloke. I love the Real Rob report, something that he brings. But on this occasion, I'd go with a strong man.
Yeah, I'm with Max Strong too. Even though, like I said, Mike Robb is my favorite Seahawk right now on the team, and it pains me to say this. It really pains me to say this, but I got to go with Max Strong. And finally, before we break for a commercial break, or not commercial break, but station identification, here's the quarterbacks. Now, let me give you some stats on this, because the stats are not going to make this decision any easier, okay? Hasselbeck completed 65% of his passes for 3,459 yards. I'll tell you this again. 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Russell completed 63% of his passes for 3,350, 26-9. Here's how they compare together. Matt Hasselbeck threw 2% higher on the completions and only 40 more attempts. He also threw for a whopping 102 yards more and 2 less touchdowns than Russell Wilson. They have the same interceptions. These guys are completely identical on the stat sheet. So.
Yeah, but they're not.
Except
the rushing.
Except the line. Except
the rushing and the line.
And
I'm going to make a push for Matt, because I have a feeling you both are leaning towards Russell, and I can understand that.
Let me just say this, and I go back to what Norb said earlier. If you take that line, put that line in front of Russell Wilson, and he's already almost matching Matt, who had that line. Now, Russell's line was not all that. He's had inconsistent receivers this year with the whole rotation thing going on. He still managed to put up those stats. He still managed to put those figures. In this game, as it is in this decade right now, you need that quarterback, that elusiveness, the ability to get out of the pocket, the ability to make throws on the run. You need them to do that. Matt Hasselbeck was never that man. Classic pocket quarterback, brilliant at all of that. But that's not the league we're in now. And if you want, for me, I would always take a runner. So for me, I would have to take Russell Wilson.
Okay, Norb?
Yep. I showed my cards pretty early about my feelings about Russell Wilson.
Yes, you did.
So with all things being equal, like you said now, and you show behind the same lines, again, his stats would only be better, I believe, if you put all the other pieces around and make those better. So, and then rush. The fact that he won the big game, the fact that he adds that element of the rush factor to it. We never had that, obviously, with Matt. So again, it's just, and then just from sheer entertainment, who do you want to watch play?
Yeah.
Because you never know how exciting his performance is going to be.
Yeah.
It's like the Marshawn thing. It's like you just can't watch enough of what this guy's going to do because it's so unexpected and so entertaining. And he's a magician on the field, from his footwork to what he can do with his arms. So, I love Matt too. I was bummed when Carroll decided not to keep him because I'm one of those guys who doesn't like change. I like things that are working, and yet they had to do it, and had to go through that transition with Tavares. But they got Russell now, and I'm all in with Russell. Yeah. So no question there.
I think I gotta go with that too. Even though I've said many times, I felt that Shaun Alexander was the MVP of the year of the NFL that year. But saying that, I felt that Matt Hasselbeck was the MVP of the team. I felt that he was the reason that Shaun got the 1,800 yards. He was the reason putting him in those positions, and I just thought Matt had an amazing year in 2005. That being said, I'm with you guys with Russell for all the obvious reasons. Let's face it, the kid's just absolutely amazing.
It's the end of the third quarter, bitches.
All right, speaking of amazing, we're going to take a quick station identification, and then we're going to come back and talk special team and defense, try to put together the Super Seahawks based on the 2005 Seahawks and the 2013 Seahawks, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Well, I hear all that. What is an internet?
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
And now it's time for the fourth quarter of the 12th Man Fan Jam. Here to lead us through the final quarter is once again our host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, thank you again, Magic Voice, to the 12th Man Fan Jam. We are in our final quarter of this special April Showers edition of the 12th Man Fan Jam. We are here with our 12th Man Fan Jam posse, which includes Norb Caoili of the Norbcam fame, and also Matt from merry old England, and of course yours truly, Moses, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity. And we have just put together a super offense from the 2005 and 2013 Seahawks. And now we're going to turn to defense. But before we do, I think we need to address our special teams and talk about the punters and the kickers. First, punters, we had Tom Ruin in 2005, who had 61 punts for a 41.5 average, and Ryan, who had 74 punts for a 42.5 average. Matt, is there any reason that you would pick Ruin over Ryan?
Nope, not whatsoever. In fact, if it hadn't been for the Rams game, I think it was the Rams game anyway, we would have held another record by now as well for the yards return. So, no, the bloke is just the most amazing ability to push them back and not kick out of his own coverage. It's incredible.
All right, what about you, Norb?
No, totally agree. We've actually had pretty good special teams guys for a lot of years, but we've been so money this year, and like you said, we almost broke that record as well for the punt coverage. But I don't know if anyone keeps a stat, but number of punts within the 10-yard line. Gosh, I mean, we've been so good with that this past season. So
absolutely,
would not touch that. We got money in the bank with the.
Even I can't convince you guys. Even with Amy Van Dyken, who is Tom Ruin's wife, the former.
Not me. You can't.
Well, she's not wearing a seagull outfit dancing on the side, right? So we don't really.
But she's not unattractive by any means. Former Olympic champion. Okay, I guess not. She was a swimmer. Okay, you guys don't care. Okay, I'm with you. I'm going with Ryan, too. I'm going with the Canadian over the guy with the cute wife. All right. Kickers. 2005 was a rookie kicker named Josh Brown, who was 18 out of 25. He was 18 out, but not in 2005. We loved our Josh Brown, didn't we?
It's just automatic, Dennis. It's just automatic.
Houchka, 33 out of 35. And I know Matt feels about Houchka. I'm not even going to ask him. But Norm, is there any reason Norm, is there any reason that we would?
What was Brown's stats in 2005?
18 to 25. He missed 7 attempts. Can you believe that?
You broke up there. How many did you make?
18 out of 25.
He was that bad?
Yeah.
I thought it was better than that.
Me too.
I just remember him being really clutch, but that doesn't sound clutch to me. So yeah, you don't get much better than what Hauschka did. I mean, he missed that one fluky one, against the Cardinals. I don't know what the hell happened on that. Actually, I know what happened. The laces were in. I don't know if you guys saw that on the replay. Laces were in. That's why he missed that kick.
Laces
should have been perfect other than the block.
Just
if you watch the Norbcam, you'll actually see me point that out.
Damn, Marino.
It's the holder's fault. Anyway, no question. House money.
Josh Brown was 4 out of 7 from 40 yards to 49, and 5 out of 8 from 50 and above. So that's why his stats were so disgusting. That's 6 misses right there, and he was 25 out of 18. I agree with you. I thought he was clutch that year, but apparently he wasn't. And we don't like him anyway, so we're going to go with our man Hauschka, who we love on this show. If anyone knows Stephen Hauschka out there that's listening that knows Stephen Hauschka, we've got to have him on this show. All right.
Oh yes, we have. Yes, absolutely.
We do.
Yes, we have.
I may hit him up on Facebook for an invite. Okay. Defense, obviously, this is a no-brainer. No one's going to tell me Kelly Herndon is on the same level as Richard Sherman. We're just not going there. Marquand Manuel is not Earl Thomas, so we will kind of forego the defense. However, there were a couple interesting stats I found in looking at these two teams. One was at middle linebacker. We have Lofa Tatupu, who had a Pro Bowl season that year as a rookie, and Bobby Wagner, and they both had identical numbers practically. Lofa had 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 86 tackles solo. Bobby had 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 89 solo tackles. So they were pretty close there. And that was the year that Lofa was a Pro Bowler, and we were all excited about Lofa Tatupu Norb. We thought he was the guy. Are you still happy? Would you rather have Wagner over Tatupu, even though you know all that?
That's actually a tough one. It seems obvious now that you just pick Wagner in a heartbeat. But like you said, if you don't look at how Tatupu's career ended up playing out and look at just that season, we were in love with Tatupu. I mean, it felt hey, we got our guy for the next 10 years or whatever. Yeah. And he played fantastic that year. So, boy, that's a tough one. I think I have to still edge it out with Wagner because he made some fantastic plays too, and was such the heart of that linebacking crew that, I guess the way everything played out, with everything else being equal with the stats, you look at the Super Bowl, and that team got it done, and 2005 didn't. So it's too close to call, but I'd have to go with Wagner with that.
I'm with you, Matt.
I would agree. I'm not gonna disagree on that really. I mean, I think, as you say, again, it comes down to those sort of heroes of the team, and I was a Lofa fan. I just an incredible player for that season.
Yes.
and then it all just starts to go, San Francisco on him. So no, not good.
Well, real quick, my favorite Lofa Tatupu story was when he was drafted. I was talking to Will, who's part of the posse usually, and Will got on the phone. And he said he talked to Rob Rang, who's a draft expert, and everyone was upset when they drafted Lofa Tatupu in the 2nd round. And what are they doing? He's too short. And Rang said, "No, you don't understand. Your stadium will be filled with 51 jerseys by the end of the year." And he was right. I mean, right off the bat, he saw what this kid could do. And he had an amazing 2005 and 2006 season. And like you said, just kind of knowing now, it's easy to say, but back then, the guy was a very favorite person, and still a beloved player as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of beloved, God, was this fun or what? Did we have a good time tonight?
Loved it.
It was awesome, wasn't it? I mean,
it was great.
We cannot do it better. This is fantastic. Ring the bells. It's been a great show, and it has been. It's been informational. It's been educational. It's been fun. What did we learn on this show tonight? We learned Matt likes bulky tight ends. I have to get that in one more time. We learned I like to kick her in, whatever that means. I say let's kick her in. And finally, we learned that you shouldn't eat chocolate cake at a sewage treatment plant. So, we'd like to thank everyone for being here. Norb Caoili was our special guest. Norb, it was awesome. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, man.
Blast. Best Friday night I've spent in a long time.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for saying that.
That's nice.
And on behalf of my partner in crime, Matt, this is your self-appointed Reverend Moses, once again, of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity, thanking you all so much for joining us this week, and thank you for making us part of your off-season Seahawk tradition. We look forward to helping you waste an hour of your life. The next time we all get together to talk a little Seahawk football, we believe around the first week of May, start looking for a new show right around draft time. We're going to have an actual draft show, believe it or not, I believe. We're going to try to make that happen. So thanks for putting up with us, and have a great rest of April and into the draft. And go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.